Hello, Sales Queens. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. In this episode, we're talking about event season because we're just entering spring. And I know that so many of you are either booked to attend events or you want to host your own events, whether that's a 1 day, a 2 day, maybe you want to host a retreat overseas. I know that so many of you who want to host events are worried about ticket sales. I've spoken to a few people recently who have been wanting to run events for the last couple of years and haven't for fear of not getting bums on seats, okay? It kind of takes you back to that feeling as a kid, where you invite all your classmates to your birthday party and no one shows up. It's embarrassing. And I get it that you don't want to announce an event and then have to cancel it again or have anybody know that you only sold 2 tickets. And I get it. I really do get it. But if you don't do your first event, if you don't push through, you will never be able to run events, right? So this episode is dedicated to all of the little secrets that I've learned, all of the little things that I've done over the last few years when I've run my own events and retreats, all the things that have worked, maybe a couple of things that haven't worked. I'm going to walk you through some of the best tips so that if you do get brave and you do want to pull together your own event and sell out the tickets and have the best time meeting your clients in person, because it will be the best time. I love meeting my clients in person. In fact, on Friday, I am heading up to London for a strategy day with my mastermind girls, and I am so excited to do that. I've met a lot of them in person already. I've been on retreat with a lot of them already, but there's some that I've never met in person, and I just know we're going to have the best time. We have a great time on Zoom, but there's just something about being in the same room as your clients, all right? So let's get into it. I'm going to walk you through a couple of the steps. I've got some notes in front of me. So if I look down, it's because I am not wanting to forget some of this juicy stuff that I have prepared for you. So the first thing, and arguably the most important thing when you are selling events and retreats, is you've got to remember you are not selling tickets, right? You are not selling an event. You're selling an experience. You are not selling the fact that somebody pays a ticket price and gets to walk into a room. That is not what you're selling. You are selling the who they get to be while they're in the room. You're selling the what they have when they walk out of the room. You're selling the long-term benefit of everything that you're going to teach them while they're in the room with you and what they're going to go on to be able to create once they've learned that. Short-term, mid-term, and long-term, okay? I have taught things in retreat spaces and event spaces where the women have absolutely cried their eyes out with gratitude around the fact that I've helped them shift something that felt so difficult, so tough, so ingrained in them. And through us being able to work together in person, they've been able to push through that. And they know that the effect of that will be felt for a lifetime. Okay. That is the power of being in the same energy as somebody. So please know that when you're selling, whether it's an event or a retreat, you are not selling tickets. That is the last thing that you are selling. You're not selling a seat in a room. That is not what you're selling. You're selling the experience, okay? Never, ever forget that. So if you're thinking about running an event, I just want you to start the process by asking yourself, by being in the room, what are they going to get? When they leave the room, what will they have? Yeah, how will all of that feel for them? How will it feel in the room? How will it feel before they even get in the room? How will it feel afterwards? Okay. Really getting the energy of what is the experience that you are looking to create. All right. That is the first thing. The second thing that's going to really help you sell that event is evidence. Okay. Evidence that you are a skilled facilitator, evidence that you can hold space. Because being in a room with you and a group of other people takes trust. Maybe the people that are going to consider to come, to your retreat, your event, maybe they need to know that you are able to hold the space. So how can you show them that you've done that before? Have you been running Zoom calls for the last 2 years in your business? How can you share your experience as a facilitator online so that people feel comfortable to be with you offline? Okay. Now, we've probably all been in the spaces where somebody likes the sound of their own voice and they tend to like overshadow everybody else, overspeak everybody else. Maybe they interrupt. I've been at those events, I've hosted those events. And as a skilled facilitator of a room of people, you have to think about how you're going to handle all those things. And when you handle it, you make everybody else feel safe. Okay. Being able to pull together an agenda, stick to the time frames, start on time, send people off to lunch on time, bring them back on time. Now, I don't mean that I run my events like an army boot camp. That's actually the last thing I do. I am very easy breezy with my agenda, but there is also space for you to be structured and allow your attendees to feel the safety of knowing that you are running the room, you are commanding the space, okay? So how can you give evidence that you have got that experience? How can you showcase that you've been hosting big groups on Zoom? Have you ever in your corporate role hosted an event there? Have you hosted a workshop? Okay, what evidence have you got? What experience have you got that you can share with your audience that showcases that you are really good at holding space? Because that's going to help everybody to feel comfortable. The other piece of evidence, if you've got this, great, is pictures of you on stages, pictures of you holding a mic, pictures of you speaking to a group of people, pictures of you speaking to a small group. It doesn't need to be a big group, but have you got video footage? Have you got photographs of you running events before, of you holding space? Because any picture or video that you've got is really going to help showcase that you are a skilled facilitator, okay? So think about what evidence you've got. And if you don't have any, I don't want you to think, well, that means I can't run an event, because you absolutely can. But what I would do to get that evidence is I would start by bringing together a group of your clients. So if you're running a membership, if you're running a mastermind or a group coaching program, or maybe even a collection of your one-to-one clients, could you start your journey into event hosting by getting together a small group of 4 or 5? It doesn't need to be a big group. Just get those people around a table, hire a photographer or a videographer or both, or just your VA to come and take some photographs of you facilitating and holding space. That will give you the leverage that when you are then selling tickets for your big event, you will be able to have some content to share that really gives confidence, okay? So sell the evidence. Sell the experience, not the event. Sell the evidence. The third E, because, I love the words that all start with the same letter. That's going to go wrong in a minute, by the way, but there's 3 E's, yeah? Experience, evidence, and energy. So the third thing that you've got to remember that you're selling is your energy. People will want to be in a room with you when you bring your energy to the sales process. Now, what that means is for you to bring your energy, you're going to have to get your face on camera. Canva graphics are not going to sell your event spaces, girls. Please, please, please don't think that you can throw out a few posts on Instagram and say, come to my event, and people are going to book tickets. They are not. What you need to do is go live, go face to camera in your stories, get excited, maybe go to the venue and, get a little face to camera of you walking around the venue and saying, oh, I'm so excited. We're going to be hosting our event here in the next 2 months. Get really into the energy of it and show your audience how excited you really are to be with them. Sorry if you can hear me slurping my water. So yeah, you're going to be way more successful at getting bums on seats if you can bring your energy, really showcase the excitement. Now, what I don't want you to think is that your event is only going to sell out if you can showcase that there's going to be like 50 people in the room, 100 people in the room, that it's going to be a really big event. It doesn't have to be big. Yeah, think about what energy you want to create in the room. If it's a small, intimate group, tell them in your content it's a small, intimate group, because that sets the tone for the energy. If it's a really high vibe group with a big stage, and a panel discussion and all the, like maybe a couple of guests and all the bells and whistles, then tell people that that's the energy of the room. Yeah. So don't allow people to think, oh, I'm going to go to a lovely small event, and then they get there and it's a room of 100, and vice versa. Don't try to, sort of paint the picture that this is going to be a really big event, and then they get there and it's a small intimate group. Yeah. Think about what is the space that you want to create, and then plan your content and your messaging and bring the energy and really set the scene for what that event is going to feel like. Okay. So the energy is a really big thing. People will want to know what to expect. Okay. So they're the kind of like three big things that I want you to remember that you're selling when you're selling an event. You're selling your the experience that you're going to create, you're selling your energy, and you're selling the evidence that you can show. Okay. Now I want to get into some tactics, right? I want to share with you like some of my most sellout events and what I think the reason was that they sold out so quickly. So one springs to mind, which I called Bougie Business. That event sold out in about 48 hours. It sold out so quickly. I don't think I did a grid post. I know I mentioned it in my stories. I know a few people shared it in their stories. So it kind of like traveled like wildfire. It was like, oh my God, you've got to go to Rachel's event. It's called Bougie Business. I think the number one reason that that event sold out so quickly is because I called it Bougie Business, and the strap line was something like, join me on a rooftop for champagne, or something like that. It was, meet me on a high vibe London rooftop, let's drink some bubbles and build your business. It was something like that. It really gave a sense of the energy. Yeah, there was going to be a few drinks. It was going to be on a rooftop. It was the summertime. It actually rained on the day, but we were expecting it to be sunny. That's why we booked a rooftop. We didn't get our wish, but we made the best of it anyway. But that event was an absolute sellout. And because the energy behind the name, the strapline, the graphic, everything about the event, because the energy behind it was very fun, the whole event was hilarious, like totally hilarious. Everybody was in such an upbeat energy, considering that they were walking through London in sandals in the rain. It could have been a whole different story. I was wearing like a white vest, white jacket, white shorts, like brand new white trainers, and it was bucketing down with rain. And yet still we were all in very high spirits. It was a great event, right? So that's an example of how just getting the name right and the energy behind what the event is going to be will help you to sell it. They didn't even need to see a sales page. They were like, Rach, you had me at rooftop. The minute you said rooftop, the word bougie, I'm there. Yeah, it didn't even need any detail. They were in, okay? So make sure you get your name right. Something else that I know has absolutely sold events for me is graphics. So I tend to create a logo for everything that I build. Every course, every program, every event tends to have its own logo. And that's to give a real sense of, well, the energy again, I guess, a real sense of like what it's about. So if it's like gold premium lettering, then that gives a sense of luxury. Yeah, if it was like a scripty font, that might be a bit more fun. If it was like pink bubbly letters, it might be like a girly sleepover vibe. Yeah, you've probably all seen the pictures of me on Instagram with a load of my clients from my Infinite Abundance Collective and from my mastermind, where we're all in our pajamas. Well, that's because I ran a 2-day UK spa and held a pajama party in my suite. And that's the vibe I wanted to go with, yeah? So think about how the graphics, how the lettering, how the coloring can really showcase the energy of your event. The next tactic for you is pricing. So I want you to remember with your event pricing that you want to charge double what the event costs, okay? So a lot of my events I don't make a profit out of, even though we go into it planning our pricing in this way, right? So for example, if you know that you want to get 20 people in the room and you've worked out the cost of hiring the room and the food and the goodie bags and all the other things that you want to include, right? if the cost per person works out at £100, I want you to charge 200. If the cost per person worked out at £150, I want you to charge 300. And the reason for that is by doubling up, by aiming for a 50% profit margin, you allow yourself the cushion that if you get people who you'll get people that don't show on the day, you'll get people that say they're going to come and then don't. You'll get all sorts of little nuances that happen whereby you need that cushion. You need that cushion. And it'll probably end up being that 50% profit margin you will end up spending on extra things in the goodie bags, extra drinks on the day. I never make a profit from my events. It's been very rare that there's money left over. I normally end up, like bringing all my team along, and obviously they don't pay, and, like just helping people to, get there and make it possible. I might like book someone's train for them, or, just do something lovely to help people get there. I remember I gifted a ticket to a lady once and she cried. She was so like genuinely happy. She was like, Rachel, nobody's ever done anything like that for me before. Like, I really wanted to come. I was like, I know you did. I know you wanted to come. I know you couldn't make it happen. I really want you to be there. So I gifted her a ticket, like I don't do that all the time, but I do it if it feels good, right? So I want you to give yourself enough space in your finances and your cash tracking for the event that if you want to do nice gestures like that, you can. Yeah, that you can. I've got, team member coming to my event on Friday. I'm not going to ask her to pay a ticket. She will engage in all of the activities, but that's my gift. That's a gift. That's what we get to do when we run events. Okay. It may be that you want your gift to be, calling in a couple of bottles of champagne at the end of the day that you pay for. Like, I like to make nice gestures at my events. Okay. So I want you to remember, whatever the cost price is, double it and make your tickets that price. The other reason for doing that is when it comes to your ticketing, I want you to sell your tickets in phases. So you don't have to call it an early bird. You might want to call it something else, but you might want to set out a saving. So you want to price at double the cost price, but then you also might want to discount the first 10 or maybe 50% of your ticket capacity. You want to discount, okay? And what you ideally want to do is use like early bird pricing to get half the rooms sold. Okay, so there's a bit of a methodology here that you're going to find out what the cost per person is, double it for your ticket price, and then reduce it back again for half of the people in the room. Because you will feel so much better about your event when half the tickets are sold. Yes, if you can sell half the tickets knowing that your costs are covered, then you're in a really good place. Okay, a really good place. So you can use early birds. I want you to think about like deadlines as well. Work out how many weeks there are until the event, and then work out different pricing phases. So it might be that the early bird is like the first week of ticket sales, and then it might be that you have a bank holiday saving or a birthday saving, or maybe you give a saving to people in a certain program that you're running. Or it may be that you run a free masterclass on something completely different and actually you give them a saving. Yeah. So think about the different spaces that you're in, different groups, different communities, and think about different deadlines and pricing campaigns that you can run to help you sell enough tickets. Okay. You might want to do a bring a friend option. Yeah, so like one person buys the ticket and they get to bring a friend, or like a buy one get one free, or you might want to do a group saving. If 6 of you come together, you can get a 6-person ticket. So think about the different ways that you can attract your audience to buy, maybe in bulk, maybe in bigger groups, or maybe just by individual savings. And then there'll be a cutoff point where you're like, okay, that's it now. I'm selling at the full ticket price. And when you're selling at the full ticket price, obviously, you know that you've got that 50% profit margin in there. But if all the other tickets have been sold where you're covering your cost price, you know that you're always going to cover your cost price. Because whilst, I've admitted to you, I don't go into my events to make a huge profit, I also don't go into my events to end up paying people to hang out with me, right? You don't want to end up paying for all the costs. So you need to balance the tickets. If you've got any questions about how to plan out your ticket phases and your campaign phases, just message me and ask, okay? One other thing I've got here on my list to share with you is, for the love of God, get support, right? Hire in some support, get some help. Okay, you don't want to be having to liaise with the venue, talk about food and drink options. You don't want to be, having the event organizer come to you in the hotel or whatever the venue is and say, what time are you having the first break? You want somebody picking all of that up for you. Somebody loading in the slides at the beginning of the day. You want somebody supporting you. So whether that's a VA or somebody else that you've got close by, somebody helping you with cash flow, helping you to track things, helping to manage all the little inquiries that you get the day before. Trust me, the day before an event, my inbox is full of people saying, oh, I can't get the 9:24 train. I'm going to have to get the 10:12, and that gets me in at this time. And I'm always like, I ain't got time to worry about your trains right now. I'm too busy rehearsing what I'm about to share with you. So get some support to help you with all of that liaison. I've even had somebody at midnight the day before an event book a ticket. And I woke up to see that this other ticket sale had come in. And I was like, oh my God, have we got enough food? What if she's a vegetarian and we haven't catered for that? And I was freaking out because of a last minute ticket sale. So think about when to take the tickets off sale so that you don't get that drama. But get support, right? Get support so that you've got somebody to reach out to support you. Okay. What else have I got on my notes here? Oh, one other thing. Oh, I've mentioned content. I wanted to talk to you about the content that you would need to share. So you're going to need to share content of you hosting events, you running events, you at the front of a room, maybe you speaking on a microphone, all of that sort of content. But the number one thing that is going to sell your event for you is you going live, you getting your face on camera. Now, at the start of your ticket selling campaign period, yes, that is probably just going to be you by yourself saying, guess what? I've got a big announcement. I'm going to be running an event. So the first couple of lives may be you just doing it yourself. But then after that, I want you to get creative, right? I want you to think about some of those first 5-10 people that booked a ticket. Could you have a chat with them and get them to come on a live with you, where you can say to them, what was it that attracted you? What are you most excited about? I haven't pulled together my agenda yet. What do you hope's on it? And really get them to help share the enthusiasm and the energy for the event on a live stream, because that's going to be a lot easier for you to have shared energy, get excited with somebody that's coming along, that's booked a ticket, rather than it just always be you showing up live by yourself. Okay, so that's just a little tip there. Whoever those first ticket sales go to, can you get them on a live with you and get them to share their energy and excitement for the event? That is everything on my list. Oh, there's one other thing which I didn't put on my list that I must share with you that really does help, is when you have an automated welcome email. So let's say somebody buys a ticket and then that first email goes out that says, yay, you're booked, you're attending my event at da-da-da-da-da, and you give them all the details. A really good idea in that email is to create a Canva graphic, so a story-shaped graphic, and have that in the PS and say, PS, I would love you to take a screenshot of this graphic, share it to your stories, and tell everybody in your audience that you'll come into this event and see who else wants to come too. And that for me has generated lots of extra people come into my events. Okay, so don't forget, in the PS section, just create a Canva graphic, ask people to share it. You'd be amazed how many people want to share that and support you. Okay, so that's one other little tactic for you. That is it from me today. What else can I tell you about events? Well, I help the ladies in my mastermind run their events. So if you've ever thought about coming to join me in my mastermind because you want some close proximity support, just reach out and ask me about my mastermind. But I help the girls in there to plan all of their sales campaigns, and we have so much fun doing it. So if you think that you would like to get my support one day, helping you build a sales campaign, whether that's for an event, a retreat, your own mastermind, a membership, a course, whatever it is that you sell, just reach out to me. I would absolutely love to hear from you. I'll see you in the next episode.